Hello, all you positive heads. Welcome to a very special episode dedicated to none other than you, the PeaHeads themselves. I am your PeaHead enthusiast and hostess for the day, Alexa Hauser. I have been blessed to have the experience of helping out with Positive Head's social media for the better part of a year. And through my digital interactions, I began to realize, as did Brandon, that we have some incredible beings listening to the show who are taking the information that Brandon puts out through the podcast and using it to transform their lives and create wonderful things. You listeners are all a huge, huge part of the life force that propels this show forward through time and space, and we think it's time to bring forth some of you beautiful reflections and delve a little deeper into this collection of energy that is the Positive Head community. So as we shine the spotlight on our listeners, what we'll have them do is share their stories of how they attracted Positive Head into their life, the transformation it's facilitated for them, and what they're focused on creating now that they're in a more positive headspace. Hello, all you positive heads. On this PeaHead Posse episode, our guest is listener Niké Aurea. Niké is a psychic intuitive, moon lover, and galactic human. As an intuitive, she connects with goddesses, archangels, and balancing energy to explore the duality of this particular space. Hi, Niké. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Alexa. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy for you to be here too. I know you've been popping up in the Positive Heads Facebook group a lot lately, doing readings and goddess cards and all kinds of fun things. And I know people have been, getting to know you more. So I feel like this is the perfect time for you to jump on here and for us to learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Awesome. Well, as we always do, we like to start with just where you been, where you came from, what are you doing here? So would you, would be honored if you would tell the audience just a little bit about yourself, what your journey's been like, maybe what your childhood was like, and, how you ended up where you are now.
Yeah. So my journey has been I've always liked to tune into my intuition. I remember in high school, I had a goal to be more intuitive, not in the sense that I know it now, but just man, I really want to understand my gut feelings more. So I've always had a inkling that being in tune with yourself and listening to yourself is something that's really beneficial.
Yeah.
But I always just chopped it up to just trusting your gut more. So I went through college and I met a friend. Her name was Grace. And towards the end of my senior year, she brought up Positive Heads. And during that time, I was getting into meditation and I was getting into crystals and all this stuff. And so she brought up Positive Heads, and so the way that I pick podcasts usually is that I don't go in order. I just kind of pick randomly which episode I'm going to listen to. And usually it's in sync with whatever I'm thinking or I'm going through or anything like that. I do that with every single podcast. So I did that with Positive Head. And I was just clicking on episodes, I think, that were just kind of just tapping into positivity and what it means. And so for a while I listened and then I fell off. And then I would go back on, listen to a couple, and then fall off. And it wasn't until early 2018 that I got back into it. And it was also a time that I got back into my crystals and everything like that, because for a long period of time, I was really afraid of crystals.
What were you afraid of? Oh, go ahead.
Well, because I grew up Catholic. And even now I would say I'm half Catholic, half intuitive, because I didn't grow up. I feel like there's a lot of people when they grow up in a religion like Catholicism or anything like extreme religion, or that's like a huge organization, they kind of resent it, or it's something that like was suppressive for them, or they felt a lot of guilt. Like Catholic guilt is a big thing. I did not have that experience. My parents weren't like that. I kind of liked it, like, because I liked having like different saints that you could go to, or I liked the idea that there was like a main source, but then there was all these other things that like kind of connected it to, that you didn't always have to go to the main source. Like you could go to an angel, you go to Mother Mary, things like that. And I love the stories. Like I used to read my kid Bible every single night. So I never had like a super bad experience with the religion itself. It was more so like the people. But so I had an aunt who she's very Catholic. Like she truly believes in it. She goes to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. And she was telling me like crystals are like really bad, and it's like witchcraft and all these things. And at the time I was really interested in like Native American things. And she was telling me that was bad. So it kind of like put me in this fear. So my crystals got mad at me and they ran away. I didn't even know where they were for so long. And so then in 2018, I started getting into everything more. I went through a really hard time where I was really feeling other people's emotions to the point where I would ask them, "Is everything okay?" And they would say, "It's fine." But there was like this huge, intense nagging that's like, "It's not fine. They're not okay." And I would like push it more, and they would push back more. And then it would become like a huge, like this catastrophic thing, which now I understand it's just like I'm tuning into something, and it doesn't mean that I have to like push them to reveal it, because not everyone's ready to reveal that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that was a huge lesson to learn, because that was really intense. So I started listening to Positive HeAd more, and then I noticed that the episodes I was choosing just intuitively were just becoming more in sync and more kind of out there. Like I was like listening to episodes about ETs and Sasquatch and all these things that completely made sense to me. But I was just like, wow, I didn't know that Positive HeAd even dived into these topics, because before, when my mind wasn't ready, it was picking just like simpler things to kind of like dive in. And then when it was ready, it was picking things that would really like shift my perspective. Yeah. So that's how I got into Positive HeAd. I always tell my friends, if they're going to listen, to just like pick intuitively which episode they want to listen to, because that's really what got me into it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting like that you bring that up, because now that I think about it, I mean, Positive HeAd offers, and I think this is why there's such a large audience of just so many different types of people who are all obviously connected to spirituality, but just everyone on the spectrum, really, because Brandon, has created a space where there are so many topics. Like sometimes it's just about what we're feeling, and sometimes it's like way out there, or quote unquote out there. It's not really out there, but there are just so many different kind of areas of it. So I like that. And, and so were you, when you were younger, I know you said like it was your goal to be more intuitive, but like, did you feel, and you said, you liked in Catholicism how there were like all these different kind of like entities or gods or saints or whatever that you could connect with. Like, did you feel like you were connecting back then when you were younger?
Yeah, to entities, yes. I think when I was younger, I connected to Mother Mary a lot. And just because I was exposed to her, I connected to Mary Magdalene a lot. And whenever I would learn about a saint, I would like research about them and like really connect to their energy. So yeah, I think I connected to entities a lot when I was younger.
And what were you getting from those connections? Like, how did you experience those?
I think it was just like in simple ways to help me. Like there's a Saint Anthony, and he always helps you find your lost things. So when I was younger, I remember I would like be looking for a toy or something like that. Look under the bed, it's not there. Look in the closet, it's not there. And I'd be like, okay, St. Anthony, can you help me find this? And there's like even a little rhyme that you could say, or like, can you help me find it? And then I would look under the bed again and it would be there. And I mean, some people would say, oh, you just weren't looking hard enough. But I truly believe that it was just, I just manifested it there to find it again. So I always connected in small ways like that because each saint has kind of something that they're in charge of. So like you can connect to different ones depending on different things. Like I remember I connected to Saint Cecilia because she's the saint of music, and I was doing like a piano recital. It was my first one and I was nervous. So like that's the way I connected with them throughout my life when I was younger. More so for like myself and like to help me like to have that support system.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. The other thing I wanted to touch on a bit was, you know, I'm wondering if you've noticed or heard about it all, because this has been coming into my reality. Like I've had 3 different people who grew up in Catholicism, recently reach out to me and be like, have you heard about all these people that are now like renouncing the New Age movement and spirituality, like people who had been like extremely involved with it? I mean, like Doreen Virtue is like one of a very public example, but you could go on like YouTube and see there's like a ton of people that had giant YouTube channels and that were all into spirituality and crystals and healing and all this stuff. And all of a sudden now they're posting stuff like, don't watch any of my material. Like this is like messed up. Like this is terrifying. Like they're very much in a state of fear all of a sudden. And Doreen Virtue, who, you know, created like the Goddess deck and all that. I forget exactly what happened, but like a year ago or something, she basically like renounced some of her decks and was like, this was actually like created with, I don't know. She just like went back on it and kind of was like, don't use this. Like, this is not, it was not created in the highest light. And I think she converted, or she's like moving into Christianity or something like that. I don't know the exact details, but I'm wondering, have you heard about any of this? Because it's been a topic that's been on my mind and that I've been talking about with the people that have brought it to me, because they come from that background and they're very very into spirituality, and it was causing a lot of fear in them, which I thought was interesting because for me, I was like, oh, like I don't come from that background. So I'm just like, oh, it's just, maybe it's just that religious fear popping up. Have you heard about that? And what is your take on that?
No, I haven't heard about that. But it's not an idea that shocks me. I think that's the right, like, I think it's really truly a balance. Like, I think when you're like extreme spirituality, it can be kind of dangerous. I always say it's really important to have like one foot in the physical and one foot in the metaphysical, because if you go off kilter either side, it can be really kind of damaging or kind of put you in a space of fear. I mean, that's why I say I'm still half Catholic, half spiritual, because there's still some things that I really appreciate about the religion. And there's some things I don't appreciate. So I kind of just pick and choose like what really resonates with me. I feel like sometimes when it comes to organized religion, people just denounce it as completely all bad because of like the history around it. But the history around it, with all the bad things that usually happen, is because of like political gain or things like that.
Right.
So, but that's really interesting that they renounced a lot of what they were saying. I think it's just, again, like maybe feeling too unbalanced and uneasy because they were in something that was like too extreme. I feel like it could definitely be possible to be like toxic positive. Because it's really easy to like, once you connect with something that feels really good, to like just want more and more and more of it, and then forget about other things. But like, it definitely takes a balance, and adjusting as needed, because we're always changing. So we might need to adjust as we're going.
Yeah. That's the other thing I was kind of thinking, like, when I heard about this, I was kind of like, well, also, like, if you're playing, if you're, you know, when you open the door, right, to that side of things and you create that connection, you might not, you don't know who you're connecting. Like, you have to like feel who you're connecting with and what they're, you know, just like there are awesome people and super high vibe people, there are also low vibe people, right? So just like in the human and physical world, it's like there are also that in terms of like entities and spirits. And I feel like, you know, maybe some of these people, I don't know, maybe some of these people kind of open that door, and then because there's still some fear within them, like can invite in entities that maybe weren't of the highest light or something like that. So then it's like very scary. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh my God, what did I open the door to? So there's like a lot of warning about like, I thought I knew what I was doing, but I don't know what I'm doing. So I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah. I was just going to say, when you're opening the door, you really truly don't know what you're getting yourself into. I definitely am specific with who I'm connecting with. If I'm connecting with my ancestors, I'm saying my ancestors of light and love, because not all your ancestors were light and love. I had a mentor, and she was my hypnotherapist, when she was talking to me about like doing cards and all that stuff. She's like, you have to open the portal and like close it back up and be stern when you're closing it up. And also like cleaning yourself, cleansing yourself, visualizing it, or like physically cleaning yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, it's especially important to build like your spiritual LinkedIn. That's what I call it. So like, like build your connection with your specific guides and your specific ancestors of light and love, because those are the beings on the other side that are really going to go for bat for you. And once you like build like a very strong connection with your ancestors of light and love, then they can go ahead and vouch for you on the other side when it comes to other entities. And they can definitely warn you when it comes to like certain entities that you might think, oh, there's such a like great entity, I really want to connect with them, but it might not be for your highest good. I think it's just like with people, like there's like, I mean, in our ego mind, and there might be, but supposedly no person is like put on this earth for just bad. Right. So you might not vibe with someone and you might think they're not like a good healer or a good person or all these things that other people might vibe with. It just means at that moment, they're not good for you. And if they're helping someone else, you can acknowledge that they're helping someone else, but they might not just be there to help you. But it doesn't mean you have to denounce them as a person. So I think it's the same for entities. One entity that you might connect with may be great for you to connect with, and another person can connect with that entity and they're not feeling it because it's not meant for them. I think it's also, Shaman Durek talks about this a lot too. Asking like whatever you're connecting with, you're supposed to ask them like 3 times. Are you for my highest good? Are you for my highest good? Are you for my highest good? And they're not supposed to lie on the 3rd time. Like there's trickster energy. I really feel like there could be trickster energy that like feels good, but ultimately isn't good for your highest good. So I think things are simple but complex. I think you could definitely go into like a rabbit hole of things, and the deeper you get, the more complex it gets, but also the more simple it gets. But I think if you just always believe you're protecting yourself, you should be good. I haven't had any instances where like something has like gone down, but I'm also very aware of like opening up the portal and closing it back up again.
Right. Well, let's talk, and very well said, by the way. Thank you for that answer. And, you know, speaking of that, of opening up and closing up and knowing like who you're working with. So let's talk a little bit about your work with the goddesses, because I know that that's something in particular that you've been called to, and that, you know, you have a strong connection with the goddesses, it seems. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and kind of like the work that you've started doing with them and with people?
Yeah. I really love goddess energy. It's just divine feminine. And ideally, we would be half divine masculine, half divine feminine, regardless of our sex, or the sex we were born, or the sex that we our preface sex. We would just ultimately be divine feminine and divine masculine. It has nothing to do with like the physical bodies. It has everything to do with like the aspects and the things that they represent. So right now I feel like divine feminine is coming to a head because we're in a state of toxic masculine with like politically and socially. And the way to combat toxic masculine, or to not even combat, the way to embrace toxic masculine is with divine feminine. Because if you use toxic feminine, it just creates more toxic behavior. So I find that a lot of people are opening up to divine feminine energy because it's embracing the toxic masculine and not shaming it or guilting it, but just bringing it to a place of love. So that's where I feel like my connection with goddess is coming from for my lifetime right now. So Mother Mary is considered a goddess. I think any feminine form could really be considered a goddess. So Mother Mary is a goddess, and she's someone I connected with when I was younger. And she's just always been in my life. So I connect to her a lot. And I actually really connect to Mary Magdalene a lot, because her energy is just really loving. So those are like goddesses that I connect to like on a daily or really often. And then there's other goddesses that like pop up depending on where we are. So the first goddess I truly connected with was Goddess Abundancia, who like teaches us about abundance and tapping into our abundance and allowing ourselves to receive, and understanding that we don't need just enough. We need plenty. We need an abundance of everything. We need more than enough. She was the first goddess who connected with me. She just like kind of came to me. The way that I see goddesses is in my mind's eye. Sometimes they'll show me like a flash of something, like they'll show me a flash of their hair, or they'll show me like something that represents them, like Athena, an owl would represent her. And then once I connect with them and I'm like, okay, are you this person? I kind of read up about them, because I find that when it comes to women in history, the way the stories are vastly different when it comes to men in history. Like in men, they're like highlighting their achievements and all these things. And with women, they're kind of highlighting their mistakes, which is really interesting to see, because sometimes when you think of entities, you're like, oh my gosh, they must be all good. And they just must have had this great history, and they must have just done everything right and everything so beautifully. And there's definitely entities like, yeah, for sure, probably they didn't have an ego, but for the entities who are now entities and they might have had an ego, you can see that they made mistakes just like we did. And so when it comes to a goddess, if I see that, I kind of just ask them, what's up? Like, what happened here? And they like talk about it. Sometimes it's kind of like something that was misconstrued or something that became bigger than what it was. But it's really interesting to see that contrast, because it also reminds you that not all entities, kind of like how we touched on before, like not all of them are like the highest alignment for you.
Right.
It really just, you need to see what truly resonates with you and feel into it and not think into it. So, yeah, right now goddesses just kind of like show me glimpse of themselves. And then I connect with them for like, if it's in for like the collective, and I just kind of try to share the messages they have. Like Goddess Abundancia, the biggest message I took away from her is like about filling your cup. A lot of us, when we talk about filling our cup, we're like, okay, our cup should be filled. It should be one cup that should be filled. And that's definitely a great start. But she was mentioning, or suggesting the way that we think about it should be, we have several cups depending on what we have, what's going on in our life. We can have different amount of cups that can all be overfilled and all be overflowing. It doesn't have to be one cup. You could have a cup for family. You could have a cup for yourself. You have a cup for work. You can have a cup for a creative outlook or outlet. So that's a message I got from her that I hadn't really heard from anywhere else, and I didn't read about it, anything like that. So that's how I knew, like, okay, like I'm getting some like great tidbits of wisdom here. Yeah, and I do goddess readings. So someone might come to me and I don't use cards. I kind of intuitively, usually a goddess comes to me like a day before or a few days before. And I'm like, okay, you're just hanging out here. And then someone will come to me and be like, I need a reading. I need a goddess reading. And I'm like, oh, that's why they're here, for you. So yeah, that's how I'm working with them at the moment.
Love how that works. That's awesome. I feel like I hear that from a lot of different just intuitives. Like, it's just interesting how like the spirit will show up before the reading, or like you're saying, the goddess will show up for the reading. It's really cool how that happens. And also, I love the message from Abundancia. Is that it? Abundancia?
Yeah, Abundancia.
Yeah, I love the message about like, it's not just like that you should have enough. Like you should have plenty, like overflowing, like and feel that energy, because just having, and that really resonates with me, because it's like just having enough is it feels like finite in a way. It almost feels like, okay, I just have enough for it doesn't feel like more is coming when you say that, or when you just enough. It's like, okay, I have enough to get by, and then what type of thing. When you have the energy of just like overflowing, abundance, more, it just feels like more. And then it feels like you're resonating with the vibration of like, it's never going to stop. Like it's, so I'm free, because I don't have to have that fear of, that this is going to stop, or you know what I mean? It's just continuing to come. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so how can people, if people want to like get a goddess reading with you, how can they do that? Do you do them online or?
Yeah, so I do them over Skype or in person. I live in LA, so there's a huge spiritual community here. But I definitely do them over Skype. You could just go to my website, www.Niké, NikeAurea.com. And it kind of touches, I talk about each service that I do, and you could book a reading there. For my HeAds, I have a coupon code. It's for 15% off of any service. It's July HeAd. So JULYPHEAD.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We will put that information in the show notes, your website and the discount code. Thank you so much for offering that to the listeners. That's so sweet of you. And what other services do you have just for anyone listening?
So I do work with cards. I mostly work with oracle cards. I do tarot. I can even read playing cards, which are like actually cards like that you can use for poker or King's Cup or whatever. So I do card readings. Most of the card readings I do offer, though, are not tarot. They're oracle, because I really... tarot is more so the cards that were like set you straight. Like they could be very honest and blunt, and they're like, listen, I only have this amount of time. I only have 3 cards, so I'm going to tell you how it is. Yeah. And oracle cards are more so kind of coming from like you got this, you can do it. It's going to be fine. We're not going to lie to you, but also we're not going to tell you like things are like this and you gotta fix it. Like, it's definitely comforting. I offer a light worker reading card reading, which is like really tapping into like your spirituality. Sometimes it has things to do with the physical, but it's really just more about like your spiritual like purpose and the gifts that you have, and diving deeply into that. But again, that's oracle. So most of the card readings that people come to me are oracle. I think tarot is great, but again, it can be very intense sometimes.
That's a good way. I've never heard it described that way, but that resonates so much, because I have like I have a few oracle decks, and then I have it's tarot, whatever. The deck I have is the Wild Unknown, which like it's not, like I love Kim Kranz, and I love like that whole just her whole brand. But yeah, like sometimes it's rare that I actually pull out that deck, because I know I'm like, oh, if I get like these certain cards, it's like harsh, man. It's like right in your face. It's like, whereas like you said, it's like with the goddess deck or with like an animal spirit deck or something like that. It's like, yeah, it's more loving, gentle energy. Definitely.
Yeah.
Interesting. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much for that offer. Like I said, check out the show notes. We'll put that information in the show notes for you if you're listening and interested. And just a couple questions before we wrap up. And one of those is, what is one thing that you think would benefit every Positive HeAd listener to know or understand as they continue on their own journey?
I think the biggest thing is to just like ride the wave, and it's okay to like feel your feelings. I think feelings are like sometimes, and this is where it comes to like toxic positive. You're like, I'm really sad, and people are like, it's okay, just be happy, and you're like, but I'm really sad. And it doesn't mean that you don't have a positive mindset, but sometimes like things happen and you're just like, wow, this is how I'm feeling. And rather than shame it or guilt it, you just kind of have to take a step back and say, why am I feeling this way? Because a lot of times our feelings are a reaction to something in the moment, but like it really stems from something like deeper that like kind of triggers us. And so I've been learning to just like feel it and figure it out, rather than like say, I'm fine, I'm not sad, I'm not this. And I've learned also that if you're doing the work and you kind of go back into a slump or a period of stagnation, it doesn't mean you're not progressing. It's again just riding the wave, like it's up and down, up and down. And I really believe like the more you get into it, the easier the wave will be. But when you're just starting, or you're in something that is like a huge lesson, it definitely can feel like it's going low. And it doesn't mean that you're not doing the work. It doesn't mean that you're not progressing. You are. It's just that you're taking and you're understanding yourself more. I think our main thing is to understand ourselves, because even if someone else doesn't understand you, that's fine. It really has nothing to do with you. But if you don't understand yourself, that's where the disconnect can come. And if you're not even understanding your feelings or why you're feeling this way, most of the time it has nothing to do with other people. It's really with yourself, because there's some things that might bother you that don't bother me, and vice versa. And why is that? It's really based on the individual. So just ride the wave. You're doing fine. Even when you're feeling down, just know that you have so many tools to help you kind of navigate that feeling.
Thank you. That was really beautiful. I resonate with that a lot. I feel like it's 11:11. I feel like right now, we're like in this, it's interesting. We're in this interesting part of a wave right now. You know, we just had the eclipse and it's been some high moving energy. And I don't know, it's really interesting because I've personally been like, just really taking it easy. And it's the first time ever that I've actually allowed myself to take it easy without blaming myself or judging myself or been like, well, you should be doing more or whatever. It feels like the first time that it's actually like, no, this is what I should be doing. And it's perfectly okay that I'm in this part of the wave. I'm just going to be here. And I feel like because it's easier, I'm being more gentle about it now. It feels like when the time is right to move again, it will be easier to slide back into that mode. You know what I mean? But like I've had a history personally of being like, you know, the wave, it goes up and down, and then like you're in this high energy part, and then all of a sudden you're in a low energy part, and then you're like, no, or I get so frustrated. And so it's an interesting experience I'm having like right at this moment where I'm like, oh, I'm in the other part of the wave, and you know what? That's okay. So I really love that message, and that resonates deeply right now with me. Cool. Okay. Well, last question, Niké, is, do you have any manifestation stories or stories of synchronicity, any kind of like story that you feel like really wowed you or meant something to you that you'd like to share?
Yeah. So I would say the biggest thing is actually something that recently happened, and it happened in the most universe way. I find that the universe, the way it delivers like manifestations or things like that, it's in a way that's like, it makes sense, but you didn't picture it that way, so you're caught off guard. But then when you look back at it, it made sense. So
yeah.
It's really interesting. So I was applying to programs for school. I am in education, but I didn't study education. I actually studied economics. But then I realized I loved working with kids. So I switched my career before I even got into my original career. And I moved to California, which is one of the hardest states to get teaching credentials or certifications. Like they have a very high standard. So I was like, okay, I have to figure it out. I have to go to school because I want to work with kids, and I'm pretty sure it's going to help me along my path. So I was applying to school. Actually, I applied to one program because I'm like, I can manifest this. It's going to be great. It was months of manifesting, months of visualizing. I would go on the elliptical in my last minute. I would like visualize myself running on this golden path. And then like there was a unicorn next to me. And then I would like catapult into like the campus, and I would be walking around with books. Like I was chanting. I was doing a prayer every night. I wrote up an email that was like, congratulations, blah, blah, blah. And I would like time it to send it to me every single morning at 8. So I really put in a lot of energy and work into it. And then I found out from my advisor, I didn't get in. And it's so funny because also usually like they send you an email like, oh, congratulations, or I regret to inform you. I never got that email. I like asked them about it. They're like, we sent it to you. They sent me another one. I never got it. I looked everywhere. I even reached out to Gmail. They're like, we can't help you. I never got that letter. And now that I think about it, maybe it's because I was writing letters of congratulations that like the letter of rejection wouldn't even go through. It's really interesting. Yeah.
Wow. I love that.
I didn't get in. I was devastated. I was like, I thought this is what I was supposed to do. I thought the universe led me to this. And I didn't get in, and I was panicking because I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I've been telling everyone I'm going to get in. Like, I told everyone because I was like, if I tell everyone, then it's going to happen. And I didn't get in. So I was looking for what I was going to do. I got to figure out my life. I applied to another program that actually is like a sister program to the original program that I was doing. I got in so quickly. My interview went so quickly. I got a scholarship. With the other program, I would be paying like $18,000. This one, I'm only paying $500. And yeah, now I'm moving to San Francisco. So if I hadn't done all the other stuff and I hadn't originally tried for that program, I would have never really known about this program, and it wouldn't have like flowed. So like it was a huge thing that didn't go the way I thought it would go. But in the end, all that energy, all that work really put me where I wanted to go. And even in a better way, like I don't have to pay for school, which is a great thing. I don't have to get a loan. So it was really from the highest good for the better of my path.
Yeah. Wow. I love that story. Isn't it so cool to, like you said in the beginning, it's like so cool how in the middle of it or in the beginning of it, you're like, it's like you can't see what's going on. And then after you look back and you can see so much more about like what was actually happening and how it feels like you were being guided to something that was much better for you. But, and that's such a great example too of how, you know, we think we know what's best. We think we know what we're supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there's something much better that we hadn't even conceived of, you know? So mm-hmm. That is so cool. And congratulations on this program and the move. And that's going to be a lot of fresh energy for you, it sounds like, in San Francisco.
Yeah. It's so funny. I was born in Berkeley. I'm like going back to the area. It's like, wow.
The queen returns home.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it's really interesting. And I feel like that's going to inspire some people who are listening and maybe think like they missed out on something. It's like, just hold on, because maybe maybe that was moved out of your way for something better. Yeah. So Niké, this has been so awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us. And you're just such a joy to talk to and to listen to. And is there anything else that you feel really called to share before we sign off here?
Well, still going for manifestations. Really, if you, whatever you feel you have to do in order to get that manifestation, do it. It doesn't have to be visualizing like me. It could be like you're writing it down, you're doing this, you're chanting. Even if the manifestation doesn't occur in the way you thought, or it's like stagnant, it still feels so good to do it because you're really like believing in yourself. And that's an amazing feeling.
Yeah. And it's fun too. Mm-hmm. Like it's a fun way to be creative. Like the way I loved what you were saying about like creating this notification or something that would be like sent to you every morning saying it's like you're getting so creative and you're playing and you're using your imagination, and that's so fun. You know, it makes mm-hmm. you tap into that creative power that you have. So beautiful words to end on. Thank you so much for being here, and good luck with your program. I know you're moving in just a couple days, and yeah, if you're listening again, if you want to check in with Niké or get one of her services, check the show notes, and we'll have that discount code and also her website. So, have a beautiful day, Niké.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
That's it for this week's episode. If you're a listener with a story to share and are interested in being featured on a future episode of this special series, you can email me at alexa@positivehead.com. Otherwise, tune in next Friday for another HeAd Posse episode. And until then, as Brandon always says, journey well.